I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. What a utter disgrace. It's so hard to believe how far CNN has fallen. They hosted this, what they called a town hall with Donald Trump in New Hampshire. CNN invited 400 Republicans, or they called them independent, who lean Republican voters, to this New Hampshire event. They called it a town hall. They had Caitlin Collins as the moderator, who completely lost control of this event. And during this event, you had the crowd just laughing and mocking victims of sexual assault and mocking our country, mocking everything our incredible nation stands for with Donald Trump. It was a horrific, horrific event. One thing to also just remind you about Caitlin Collins, who's CNN's, go-to moderator or host now. She used to work at Tucker Carlson's Daily Caller before working at CNN. I want to show you this clip first. Before Donald Trump even arrived at this New Hampshire town hall, he went on his social media platform to mock CNN for giving him this platform and saying how CNN needed the ratings, and just so completely humiliating for CNN. Here, play this clip.
I'll be doing CNN tonight live from the great state of New Hampshire because CNN is rightfully desperate to get those fantastic Trump ratings back. They were ratings like none other, and they want them back. They made me a deal I couldn't refuse. Could be the beginning of a new and vibrant CNN with no more fake news, or it could be a total disaster for all, including me. Let's see what happens tonight at 8 o'clock.
And just so you have a sense of who CNN's moderator is, who Caitlin Collins is, this is when she was on Fox, when she was working for Tucker Carlson's Daily Caller. And you can see how she got her start on right-wing media spreading these falsehoods and anti-Semitism and xenophobia. Here, play this clip.
Do with the immigration crisis.
Good morning. Okay, so George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country. And in this data dump, one of the memos was about the refugee crisis. And they made 3 points. They think that they've been successful at influencing immigration policy across the world. They think that the refugee crisis is an opportunity to continue doing so. And they think the refugee crisis is the new normal. And George Soros is this guy who is a staunch advocate for open borders. He wants people to be able to go wherever they want, whenever they want, for whatever reason. And for him, he sees this immigration policy, this crisis, as a vehicle to further his immigration agenda.
Before showing you any of the clips from the actual town hall, I just want to show you some of the responses. This is from Dan Rather, who says, "Does CNN count this event as an in-kind campaign contribution to Donald Trump?" Congressmember Daniel Goldman said, "Why did CNN host a Trump rally?" Ruth Ben Giat, who's appeared on the MeidasTouch network before, she is a professor who focuses her studies on the rise of fascism, and she wrote, "As a scholar of fascism, this is deeply familiar. This is a propaganda spectacle designed to reinforce the leader cult, thus the relief and enjoyment of the audience at hearing their favorite slogans and untruths, the lies that are spread." And when I show you some of the clips in a bit from this town hall, I want to call out the lies and disinformation that's being spread, but I also want to call out the fact that the crowd, the kind of trance they're in, and how they laugh and mock certain things and people. It's so dehumanizing and horrific. Simon Rosenberg, a friend of the MeidasTouch network, a long-time Democratic strategist, who correctly predicted the midterm elections here on the MeidasTouch network, he wrote, "Chris Licht should voluntarily step down. He's brought incredible shame to his once proud network." And he was quote tweeting Media Matters, which stated, "Trump steamrolls CNN," is what Fox News has been bragging. Matthew Dowd writes, okay, I watched as much of this town hall as I could. CNN was completely unprepared to hold Trump accountable. CNN has done a complete disservice to our democracy. I withheld judgment on this until I saw it. CNN, you failed journalism and our country. This is even from MAGA Republican Chris Christie, who writes, during this town hall, Donald Trump said he would end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours tonight on CNN. Despite how ridiculous that is to say, I suspect he would try to do it by turning Ukraine over to Putin and Russia. Hashtag Putin's puppet. Well, Chris Christie, you call Donald Trump Putin's puppet, yet you continue to enable the behavior. You know, when you're asked, would you vote for him? You say things like, yeah, you still would vote for him. You would vote for someone who literally would destroy the United States of America. Completely hypocritical. Claudia Conway writes, yeah, because let's give a man who was found liable for sexual assault yesterday a platform where he can lie, again, about the same thing to lunatics that applaud him. Yes, sounds like a fantastic, tasteful idea from a major news network. Liz Cheney was fact-checking all of the lies from Donald Trump in real time, and Republican Liz Cheney, who's actually a real conservative, not a MAGA Republican who masquerades as conservative when they're just fascist. Liz Cheney, a real conservative, writes, on January 6th, Donald Trump refused for over 3 hours to tell the violent mob to leave the Capitol, despite pleas from his White House staff, members of his family, and many others. No matter how many times he lies about this, the facts won't change. He is unfit for any office. John Favreau writes, Trump, I want to pardon the insurrectionists, default on the debt. Oh, and by the way, the woman who I was held liable for sexually assaulting has a cat named Vagina. If there are any undecided voters watching this, wouldn't bet on it. Not sure this will get them off the fence, John writes. John Favreau goes on to say, he won't even say he wants Ukraine to win. I realize no one likes watching MAGA fans applaud Trump's crap, but he is not doing himself any favors here with the voters who will decide this election. Now he's saying that he was right to take the classified information he's under investigation for stealing. And he goes on to just, again, talk about this is actually happening. Congressmember Ted Lieu writes, not that many Americans would have watched one town hall on CNN, but many Americans will now see the sick things Donald Trump said because Joe Biden and Democrats will absolutely use clips from that town hall in ads across America. The Hollywood Reporter headline was, CNN town hall audience members laugh and cheer as Trump talks about E. Jean Carroll's sexual abuse verdict. And by the way, as I show you some of these clips, I think that E. Jean Carroll should and can absolutely sue Donald Trump for additional defamation based on the statements that he made during this event. So let's go through some of these clips right now, and I want to give you the context of them in the sense of we're going to call them out for what they are, and let's just be very clear. These are lies. These are disgusting disinformation, and each and every one of these clips needs to be called out for what it is. We're not just going to play it with no context at all and just say, here, just take a look at this. But let's start off by how this, whatever you want to call this event, actually started off. And so here's the first clip I want to show you. And in this clip, Donald Trump starts off by lying and saying that the election is rigged right away. Caitlin Collins tries to say it wasn't, but like she kind of lets him steamroll her in this. Here, play this clip.
I think that when you look at that result and when you look at what happened during that election, unless you're a very stupid person, you see what happens. A lot of the people in this audience, and maybe a couple that don't, but most people understand what happened. That was a rigged election, and it's a shame that we had to go through it. It's very bad for our country. All over the world, they looked at it, and they saw exactly what everyone else saw. You look, even if you just look recently with the 51 intelligence agents, that made a 16-point difference. If you look at the FBI, if you look at the FBI and Twitter, they call it Twitter files, made a big difference. If you look at
Mr. President, back to what you just said there, though, it was not a rigged election. It was not a stolen election. You and your supporters lost more than 60 court cases on the election. It's been nearly 2.5 years Can you publicly acknowledge that you did lose the 2020 election?
Let me just go on. If you look at True the Vote, they found millions of votes on camera, on government cameras, where they were stuffing ballot boxes. So,
I mean, right away, that clip that you saw there, that should be absolutely disqualifying. The fact that the Republican Party supports someone who will consistently lie and just make up things like that about something so important to our democracy is so utterly despicable. Moving on, Caitlin Collins asks, do you feel that you owe Mike Pence an apology? And here's what Donald Trump responds.
To brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he killed her, but
bragging.
one person who was at the Capitol that day, as you know, was your vice president, Mike Pence, who says that you endangered his life on that day.
I don't think he was in any danger.
Mr. President, do you feel that you owe him an apology?
No, because he did something wrong. He should have put the votes back to the state legislatures, and I think we would have had a different outcome. I really do.
But he doesn't have the authority to do that, as you know.
What?
The vice president does not have the authority to reject those.
Are you ready? Let's have this one out just now, because it's interesting. Let's keep it interesting, right? I like Mike Pence very much. He's a very fine man. He's a very nice man. He made a mistake. His lawyer said, you cannot move. I called him the human conveyor belt. I said, even if the votes, I talked to his lawyer, even if the votes are absolutely fraudulent, he can't say, yes, sir, he can't send back. And the Democrats played it, and the rhinos played it. And then the election was over. They told him he couldn't do it. And Mike said to me, I can't do it. The lawyers told me I can't do it. They can't do it. But the lawyers were wrong, because right after the election, they all met, the rhinos and the Democrats, and they worked out a plan to make sure that future vice presidents don't do what I said you could do.
That's not what happened. You're referring to the Electoral Count Act. I've read that. There is no authority.
No,
legal experts, including Republican legal experts, say that he does not have that authority, Mr. President.
And you hear the audience clapping about that. And what's so despicable, too, is people like Mike Pence will go along and say, well, I'm a conservative, and I'm a Christian, and I'm a Republican in that order, and of course I would still vote for him. I mean, he tried to kill you, and he's mocking you in front of this audience right now. And this next clip, again, horrifically disqualifying. Donald Trump says that he would pardon a large portion of the people involved in the January 6th insurrection. Here, play this clip.
And what they've done, and I love that question, because what they've done to so many people is nothing. And then what they've done to these people, they've persecuted these people. And yeah, my answer is, I am most likely, if I get in, I will most likely, I would say it will be a large portion of them. You know, they did and it'll be very early on.
And again, I always say this on the MeidasTouch network, which is, these people are not conservative. That's just fascism. That is authoritarianism. That is what you are watching there. It is not normal behavior for a major political party, the modern day Republican Party, which is the MAGA Republican Party, to support terrorists, to support insurrectionists, to go and start singing songs with the January 6th choir, a band made up of insurrectionists. And by the way, there have been multiple seditious conspiracy convictions by jurors. Juries in Washington, D.C. have reached verdict after verdict after verdict, finding these insurrectionists guilty of very serious crimes against our democracy, against police officers, against members of Congress. And yet here Donald Trump is saying he supports that. I mean, again, how radical, how extreme. In this clip, Donald Trump starts further defaming E. Jean Carroll. Play this clip.
Her dog or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wasn't allowed to put that in. All of these things, but with her, they could put in anything. Access Hollywood.
This was a jury of 9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman.
Again, it's just defamation, more defamation. And there's already been a finding by the jury of Donald Trump's conduct. So if she sues him again, she'll probably be able to get summary judgment by the court and just move to the damages phase right away. This is Trump talking about the Access Hollywood tape and basically saying, oh, it's true. Play this clip.
There was a tape deposition of you from October in it. You defended the comments that you made on that Access Hollywood tape about being able to grab women how you want. Do you stand by those comments?
I said if you're famous and rich or whatever I said, but I said if you're a star, you are, and I said, women let you. I didn't say you grab. I said women let. You didn't use that word. But if you look, women let you. Now, they said, will you take that back? I said, look, for a million years, this is the way it's been. I want to be honest. This is the way it's been. I can take it back if you'd like to, but if you're a famous person, if you're a star, and I'm not referring to myself, I'm saying people that are famous, people that are stars.
You were asked in the deposition,
people
do you
that are
consider
rich,
yourself to be a star,
people
and you
that are
said
powerful. They tend to do pretty well in a lot of different ways, okay? And you would like me to take that back? I can't take it back because it happens to be true. I said it's been true for 1 million years, approximately 1 million years, perhaps a little bit longer than that.
So you stand by those comments?
Well, I don't want to lie.
Mr. President, we have a lot of questions.
Here's what she wants
Mr.
me to
President,
say.
let's get to the
A rich and
audience
famous
questions
person
tonight.
has no advantage over anyone else. Well, you do have an advantage. And I say unfortunately, but that's the way it is.
You said fortunately or unfortunately,
well,
but Mr.
fortunately
President,
or
we have a lot of
unfortunately for
audience.
her.
And again, I mean, how disgusting and despicable can you be to say something like that? It's horrendous. It is so just gross and despicable and criminal to hear that. Here, Donald Trump is basically saying he wouldn't have an issue with America defaulting on its debt right now. Play this clip.
The U.S. defaulting would be massively consequential for everyone in this room, for all Americans.
You don't know. It's psychological. It's really psychological more than anything else. And it could be very bad. It could be maybe nothing. Maybe you have a bad week or a bad day. But look, you have to cut your costs. We're spending $7 trillion on, much of it on nonsense. $7 trillion on nonsense.
We've got
and
another
I actually
question from a
said,
voter tonight.
get all of that money that was wasted, and frankly, the Senate should have never approved it. Get all that money that was wasted, and if they don't get rid of that, you'll have to default. Okay?
Mr. President, we've got another voter here tonight.
And by the way, you're going to default eventually anyway, but it's going to be much messier. I don't think you'll have to default. I think if the Republicans hold strong and they say we want let's say we want $5 trillion off, I really think the Democrats have no choice but to do it. And if I win, they're going to be doing the same thing to me in 2 years. I guarantee you that.
And then the moderator, Caitlin Collins, said, well, you once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge is unthinkable, and now you're okay with it. And Donald Trump goes, yeah, because I was the president then, I'm not the president now, so burn it all down, basically. Again, so horrific. Play this clip.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office.
That's when I was president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
Now, here was a part of the interview where, again, Caitlin Collins just failed to fact check Donald Trump. She let him basically talk about and completely lie, claiming that abortion is allowed in once a baby's born. I mean, just utter and complete lies by Donald Trump. But play this clip, and again, everything he's saying here is false, and Caitlin Collins just refuses to fact check it. Play the clip.
The way I look, I think it's very important to say this. I consider the other side to be radical, because the other side, under Roe v. Wade and other things, the other side, they're radical because they will. Remember the debate with Hillary Clinton? I said, rip the baby out of the womb at the end of the 9th month. They will kill the baby in the 9th month. If you look at that crazy governor of Virginia from the former governor, where he said, no, the baby will be born, and then we'll decide essentially whether or not to execute the baby.
But Mr. President, can we talk about what you would do if you are
No, but these are the radical people.
Reelected?
It's not the pro-life people that are radical.
But if you are reelected and you're back in the Oval Office and you get legislation to your desk, would you sign a federal abortion ban into law?
What I'll do is negotiate so that people are happy. But the fact that I was able, I'm so proud of it. We put 3 great justices on the Supreme Court. We have almost 300 federal judges on the Supreme Court.
So just to be clear, Mr. President, you would sign a federal abortion ban into law.
I said this. I want to do what's right, and we're looking, and we want to do what's right for everybody.
But what's right?
But now, for the first time, the people that are pro-life have negotiating capability, because you didn't have it before. They could kill the baby in the 9th month or after the baby was born. Now they won't be able to do that.
But I think this is a really important question for you to answer, because this is something every Republican, including those who are running against you for the nomination, are being asked about, is would you sign a federal abortion ban into law?
And many of them are going to give you the same answer as I am. First of all, I am honored to have done what I did. And a lot of people said in 150 years, he's now the most consequential president because he saved so many lives. And I'm honored to have done it. And because of what I've done, we now have a great negotiating ability. That's what I do in life. I negotiate. We have a great negotiating ability, and I think we're going to be able to get something done.
Here, Donald Trump says that, yeah, he'd basically re-employ family separation policies again. Play the clip.
Would you re-implement that if you're re-elected? Is that what you're saying?
We have to save our country, all right?
So it sounds like that's a yes.
No. When you say to a family that if you come, we're going to break you up, they don't come. And we can't afford to have any more. Look at New York City. Look what's happening. They're living in Central Park in New York City. The city is being swamped. Los Angeles is being swamped. Iowa is being swamped. Our whole country is being destroyed. Millions of people are coming into our country. And you know what the number is going to be, in my opinion, by the end of the year? Not the 4 million that you hear and the 3 million. I think it's going to be 15 million people. And in these people, they have no idea where they come from. They come from 129 different countries so far. 120, not just the 4 that we talked about.
Just to put a button on that, it sounds like what you're saying is that you're not ruling out re-implementing that immigration policy.
And again, he's just a complete liar and not even called out by Caitlin Collins. Here is Donald Trump lying and claims he finished the wall. Play the clip.
Some of your Republican rivals have criticized you for not fulfilling the promises that you made on the campaign trail, like finishing the border wall. So how did voters know that you would get those done if you're reelected?
I did finish the wall. I built a wall. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and I finished it. And then I said, we have to build some more because there are areas like water going through a dam. There are some areas where a lot of people are coming. You close up one and they come into another. And we started another 100 miles of wall. In fact, I said to my people, if we start this and don't finish it, and then we had a rigged election, I'm sorry to say it.
The election was not rigged, Mr. President. You can't keep saying that all night long.
I mean, lies about everything. First, he said that Mexico was going to pay for the wall. Then Steve Bannon, his co-conspirator, starts raising money on GoFundMe accounts and then takes the money for himself and is indicted by the feds for wire fraud, and Donald Trump pardons him, and just lie after lie after lie. And here Donald Trump is asked a very simple question. Do you want Ukraine to win the war? And Donald Trump's like, yeah, I don't really think in terms of winning and losing. Play this clip.
Both have strengths, and within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be absolutely over.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that because that's a really important statement
let me
that
just
you just
follow
made
up.
there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying, Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done. You need the power of the presidency to do it.
But you won't say that you want Ukraine to win. You
know what I'll say? I'll say this. I want Europe to put up more money.
And here, in response to a question by the audience, Donald Trump says that he'd be opposed to giving Ukraine more military aid. Play this clip.
The current administration has made it clear that we should continue to provide military equipment to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. Do you support this decision, and how would you deal with the increasing threat posed by Vladimir Putin?
First of all, thank you very much. It's really nice. And it's an important question, so important, because we're giving away so much equipment. We don't have ammunition for ourselves right now. We don't have ammunition for ourselves. We're giving away so much. But here's the thing. I have to say it to start off. No longer matters. If I were president, this would have never happened. And even the Democrats admit that. Putin knew it would have never happened. And his pipeline would have never happened. A lot of things would have never happened. But this would never happen. And all those dead people, both Russian and Ukrainian, they wouldn't be dead today. And all those cities that are blown up and disintegrated right to the ground, that wouldn't have happened. Okay, now, here's the problem. We've given so far $171 billion. They've given, meaning European Union, which is approximately the same size altogether as our economy. They've given about 20. So we're at 170, let's say, and they're at 20. You don't have to know too much about history to realize, or geography, to realize that they're a little bit more affected than we are, okay? So they've got to put up a lot more money because they're taking advantage of us like every other country did. That's why I ended NAFTA and replaced it with the USMCA, Mexico,
But on
Canada.
this issue, Mr. President, I should know, I don't know any Democrats who have said they don't believe Putin would have invaded if you were president. But her question is, would you continue to give Ukraine money and weapons if you're elected? What's the answer?
I have a very good relationship with President Zelensky because, as you know, he backed me up with the phony impeachment hoax number one when he said the president didn't do anything wrong. So
that was
I happened
when you asked
to
him for an investigation.
So I happened to
yeah,
that's right. And I was totally exonerated, by the way, just a waste of time and money.
You were impeached over that. You were impeached over that. But let's stay on topic.
And here Donald Trump won't even call Vladimir Putin out as being a war criminal. Play this clip.
They want you to say he's a stupid person. Okay, he's not a stupid person. He's very smart. He's very cunning. And Putin made a bad mistake, in my opinion.
What was his mistake?
His mistake was going in. He would have never gone in if I was president. We used to talk about it there.
Do you believe that he is a war criminal?
What?
Do you believe that Putin is a war criminal? He's responsible for the deaths of thousands of Ukrainian men and women and
I think it's something that should not be discussed now. It should be discussed later, because right now we have to get a war. If you say he's a war criminal, it's going to be a lot tougher to make a deal to get this thing stopped. Because if he's going to be a war criminal where people are going to go and grab him and execute him, he's going to fight a lot harder than he's fighting, under the other circumstance. That's something to be discussed at a later date. Right now, we want to get that war settled. And I'm not talking about the money either. I'm talking about all the lives that are the number of people being killed in that war is far greater than you're hearing. When they blow up a city and those buildings come pouring down and then they say 2 people were injured, no, hundreds and thousands of people are being killed, and we have to get that war settled.
We have more with former President Trump. Right after this, we're going to take a quick break.
And again, Putin's puppet. How could you have someone in a major political party who is supportive of someone who wants to destroy our country? Well, the answer is simple. Donald Trump wants to destroy our country. So, of course, there would be an alliance there. Here, Caitlin Collins asks him a question about the classified documents. Like, why did you take those documents with you? And Donald Trump's like, I had every right to. Play this clip.
I also want to talk about some of the other investigations that you're facing. We talked about others at the top, but one of those is the special counsel's investigation into classified documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago. Why did you take those documents with you when you left the White House?
I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there and I took what I took, and it gets declassified. Biden, on the other hand, he has 1,850 boxes. He had boxes sent to Chinatown, where they don't speak even English in that Chinatown we're talking about.
I got to stop you right there.
Nobody talks about him, they talk about us. Just so you understand, I had every right to do it. I didn't make a secret of it.
And here Donald Trump lies and claims Obama took the documents. Play the clip.
I took the documents. I'm allowed to. You know who else took them? Obama took them. Nixon took them.
Obama
Reagan
did not
took
take
them.
documents.
Oh, he didn't?
The difference here that I'd like to note.
Reagan
National
took
Archives
them.
says that President Obama
Even Jimmy
did not
Carter,
take
even Mike
documents.
Pence had some documents, and he's a
You
very
referenced
honorable
Pence,
guy.
you referenced
But you know who
Biden.
took them more than anybody is Joe Biden. He has 1,800 boxes.
That's
And
not
nobody
accurate,
even
Mr.
knows where
President,
they
and
are.
you know that.
1,800. And nobody talks about him.
And here Donald Trump says, I have an absolute right to do whatever I want with them. Play the clip.
They consider them
Mr.
dangerous
President, that's
documents.
not what it
Those
says,
are the
and I should note that there is a special counsel investigating your document situation, also President Biden's document situation. When it comes to your documents, did you ever show those classified documents to anyone?
Not really. I would have the right to. By the way, they were
What do you mean, not
declassified
really?
after. Not that I can think of. Let me just tell you, I have the absolute right to do whatever I want with them. I have the right. I was negotiating with NARA. Do you know what NARA is?
The National Archives.
Extremely
But you don't
left
negotiate
group
with
of
them.
people. Extremely left. and I was negotiating with
They're
them.
not
All of a
left, they're
sudden, they
bipartisan.
raided my house. They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden. They didn't raid Obama.
Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back.
I mean, he doesn't. You know, it is an absolute crime. And I would have wanted to see, we would all want to see, if you're going to host him on there, give that serious pushback and say, no, that's a violation of the Espionage Act. That's called obstruction of justice. That's mutilation and concealment of records. They don't belong to you at all. They don't belong to you. That is a crime. You're not above the law. And here you have Donald Trump calling Caitlin Collins a nasty person, because that's what he does. He just engages in those types of attacks. And again, there's like no standing up to him when he does this. I mean, it just lets him do it while the audience like laughs. Play this clip.
What's
You
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating.
Here, Caitlin Collins asks, do you still have any classified documents? Here's Donald Trump's response.
Why hasn't the FBI raided Biden?
But I just explained to you
Why?
why.
No.
It's because he's the one, they alerted the government that they
Okay.
had those documents and had them come and get the documents
Why
from
did
his
Biden-
house.
no, they
My
didn't
question
take
for you, though, when it comes to documents, do you still have any classified documents in your possession?
Are you ready?
Do you?
No, I don't have anything. I have no classified documents. And by the way, they become automatically declassified when I took them.
And then Donald Trump says he's not committed to accepting the results of the 2024 election. He's not responsive to this. Play the clip.
The results of the 2024 election.
Yeah, if I think it's an honest election, absolutely, I would.
Will you commit to accepting the results of the election regardless of the outcome?
You want me to answer it again? If I think it's an honest election, I would be honored to. And right now, we are so far ahead of both Democrat and Republican. And you know what? If I don't win, this country is going to be in big trouble. It's so sad to see what's happening.
But no commitment there on the accepting the results regardless of the outcome.
If it's an honest election, correct, I will.
Okay, so not committing to accepting the 2024 election results or acknowledging what happened in 2020.
Go ahead.
Here, Caitlin Collins asked Donald Trump, when you said find the votes, what did you mean by that? And here Donald Trump lies. He said, I never said that. And Caitlin Collins like, yes, you did say that. But like, it's not really challenging, and there's like no real pushback here. Play the clip.
All that you had with the Secretary
Perfect
of State,
call.
Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah, sure.
Given the fact that there are indictments expected to come in that case this summer, is that a call you would make again today?
Yeah, I called questioning the election. I thought it was a rigged election. I thought it had a lot of problems. I had I guess he's Secretary of State. I called. Listen to this. There are like 7 lawyers on the call, many of them from there. We're having a call. We're having a normal call. Nobody said, oh, gee, he shouldn't have said that. Why? If this call was bad, I questioned the election.
You asked
if this
him to
call
find
was
you
bad,
votes.
I didn't ask him to find anything. Let me
We've
just tell
heard
you,
the audio
if
tape,
this
Mr.
call
President.
was
There's an
bad,
audio of you asking him to find you
I said,
11,000
you owe
something
me
votes.
votes because the election was rigged. That election was rigged. And if this call was bad, election, and when we can't make a call to question election results, then this country ought to just forget about it.
You weren't just questioning the election results.
I was
You were
questioning
asking
the
him to
election.
find you votes. And I should note that there is no evidence of fraud. There is no rigged election in the state of Georgia. I want to get back to the audience, though, Mr. President.
And again, these are just 2 other portions I just want to highlight again. I mean, look, in response to this question from an audience member, Donald Trump endorses a U.S. debt default. That would be so catastrophic. He's endorsing a default on our debt. And this is who the Republicans support. Play this clip.
What do you think about the United States' current debt situation, and how can we move forward?
Such an important question. So we're at $33 trillion, a number that nobody ever thought possible. When we had our economy rocking and rolling just prior to COVID coming in, like literally, we were making a fortune. And oil, we were going to make so much money from oil, we were going to start paying off debt. But then with COVID coming in, we had to do other things. We had to keep this country alive because it was so serious. But we have to get the country back. We have to lower energy prices. We have to lower interest rates. Interest rates are through the roof. Energy has to come down. It all has to come down, and we have to start paying off debt. But when we have a debt limit, and they use that very seriously to me. They came in, Schumer came in with Nancy Pelosi, and they were using, we'll violate it, we'll do whatever. They talked a whole lot different than they do right now. I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, If they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default. And I don't believe they're going to do a default, because I think the Democrats will absolutely cave, because you don't want to have that happen. But it's better than what we're doing right now, because we're spending money like drunken sailors.
So just to be clear, Mr. President, you think the U.S. should default if the White House does not agree to the spending cuts Republicans are demanding?
You might as well do it now, because you'll do it later. Because we have to save this country. Our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people, by very stupid people.
And here, just more defamation from Donald Trump. This is, you could just see him defaming E. Jean Carroll, while the town hall audience that CNN had of all these Republicans, they gave him a friendly audience, all just starts laughing as he's defaming E. Jean Carroll. It's just so despicable.
Usually you leave office, you say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to back home. I'm back home to my family and everything. I'm going to be resigning. My poll numbers went up, and they went up with the other fake charge too. Because what's happening is they're doing this for election interference. This woman, I don't know her. I never met her. I have no idea who she is. I had a picture taken years ago with her and her husband, nice guy, John Johnson. He was a newscaster, a very nice man. She called him an ape. Happens to be African American. Called him an ape. The judge wouldn't allow us to put that in. Her dog or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wouldn't allow to put that in. All of these things, but with her, they can put in anything. Access, Hollywood.
This was a jury of 9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door. So she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes, you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
And just so we can have a little cleanse after watching all of that, this is the Democratic leader, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on MSNBC saying, let me tell you about the Republican Party under Donald Trump. Play the clip.
A former president of the United States, front runner for the Republican nomination, saying that it's time for the Republicans to force a default on the debt. He actually wants them to do it. What was your reaction to that?
Well, the Republican Party under Donald Trump and Trumpism has 3 basic philosophical pillars. 1, facts don't matter. 2, hypocrisy is not a constraint to their behavior. And 3, they actually believe that shamelessness is a superpower.
Thank you so much for watching this video. It's so important that we call out that behavior. And look, those people in the audience who were laughing at E. Jean Carroll, or those people who were mocking Ukraine or mocking our democracy, and just the frenzy that audience was in over the hate and the nastiness, that's not really the audience that we're ever going to be able to, get to. There's a real sickness there. But what I think we have to focus on is there is a far bigger population here in the United States of people who are decent, people who are compassionate, people who care about intelligence, people who care about love, people who want to actually focus on things that matter, who look at what we just showed you and say, I can't have that person making life or death decisions over my family. I can't have that person making decisions over my country, my friends, coworkers, colleagues, neighbors. Weight is so extreme, so radical, so anti-American right there. And we just got to call it out. And we got to talk about the issues that matter. And we got to make sure that we build up a pro-democracy media network like this that can push back together. Thank you so much for watching this. I'm Ben Meiselas. Have an incredible day. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Hit the subscribe button. Check us out at Patreon. Subscribe on audio, but hit subscribe on our YouTube. Thank you.
Lock him up! Indictment season is upon us. Celebrate with the new Indictment Season t-shirt and v-neck exclusively at store.MeidasTouch.com.